Well, let's bust this whole thing down. We're just a half an hour away from the Mankato City Council meeting, which we will run live here. Now, it's a Zoom thing. It's also going to be on the City Council website. We'll grab it one way or the other, and you can hear it here. Of course, you can also go to the thing, which is, like a civic thing. If you go, do you wear a mask? Interesting. All right, I've got on the line with me right now your representative, Jeremy Munson from the City of Mankato. Jeremy, thank you very much for being on the program.
Thank you, Al. Thanks for having me on for this important decision tonight for the City Council.
It is interesting. I mean, nothing gets done today, but it seems interesting that this is going on. And I'm going to throw two things out at you, and then that'll get this conversation started. The Free Press throws out a poll, yes or no, would you support this ordinance to wear a mask or not? 746 people, 70% say, yeah, they'd support it. You go out and do a survey, and was this on the Facebook thing or something? Where did your survey go?
Yeah, I put my survey out on a website that I run because the Minnesota House of Representatives doesn't have a really good, like a subscription to SurveyMonkey or some way to do surveys. But I think it was more important than doing just a poll, do you support it, yes or no? Because in all lawmaking, it's important to understand what the repercussions are going to be if you have a legally binding, an ordinance that is going to carry with it criminal and financial penalties.
Oh, absolutely. What was interesting to me is yours had 2,300 and 2,350 something. You had 2,300 plus people who responded to yours. That's pretty healthy compared to the 750 that the paper had. But it seems like you had the exact opposite numbers when you bust it down, that about 70% of the people on your survey said, no, thank you, you'd rather not.
Yeah, well, I think it was interesting. I mean, they ran a poll, just do you support it or not? And if you have a few minutes, I can just run through the questions so that your listeners can actually kind of follow along to the questions to see, where they would fall in this.
Go ahead. I'd like that. Yes.
Yeah. So the first question is, if it's not required, do you currently wear a mask when you're shopping or dining? Mm-hmm. And, the first answer would be yes, always. The second is I wear a mask about half the time when I feel it's necessary. The third one is only if it's required by the store. The fourth one is no, and I avoid places which require them. Keep in mind like the Menards to Home Depot shift in consumers. And then the fifth answer was that you can't wear a mask due to medical conditions. And in this result, about 60% said that they don't wear it and they avoid places which do, and 40% roughly were scattered across the I wear it all the time or part-time or only if required. So that was the result of the first question.
Okay.
The second question is, do you believe the city of Mankato should implement an ordinance like the Minneapolis one, which they're considering, requiring all people to wear masks? And 83% on the poll said no. 17% said yes. So you're right. It's much more opposite of what the Free Press poll was. Okay. And the next question is, do you believe a violation of the Mankato Mask Ordinance or mandate should be a misdemeanor like the Minneapolis Ordinance, which is a $1,000 fine or up to 90 days in jail? And this is where the results really shifted, where a lot of people thought, they went to 89% said no, that was not what people really want. They don't want a $1,000 fine or 90 days in jail for not wearing a mask. But that's what that's what they were considering is a copy of the Minneapolis Ordinance.
Sure. Fourth question?
Yeah, so the next one is, should businesses receive fines or possibly lose their license to operate their business if an employee or a customer is found to be in violation of the Mankato Mask Ordinance? That's in Minneapolis. They have administrative penalties up to and including losing the license of the business. And this is where actually more people supported yes on this one. So, or not more people than the previous question of the fines. 14% said yes, 85% said no. But it really gets to the teeth of what they're trying to do in Mankato to be careful of, are they going to be fining businesses? And then the last question, whether or not you support the mask mandate, list what reasonable exceptions to the ordinance the Mankato City Council should consider, like gyms, indoor sports, children under 12. For instance, the ordinance in Minneapolis is children 2 and under are not required to wear a mask, but a 3-year-old has to by penalty of law. But if people are claustrophobia or they're mentally or physically disabled, and there was right now at my poll, there's 1,540 people that have taken the time to write a response, and there's like 540 pages of text that I printed out for the city council so they can read all of these, all the input from the people.
And I don't have time to go through all those here. So I've been promoting that you're going to be on and talking about this survey, and someone, it was on their phone, so I don't have a name, said that this was a campaign thing for you, so it doesn't really count. How did this come up? Was this part of the campaign, or is this just a survey straight up? You want to know what's going on? How do you answer that?
Well, first of all, we don't have SurveyMonkey paid for by the Minnesota House of Representatives. So I pay for a website that does all this stuff. Part of the reason why I love being in office is to bring the legislature to the district and let people watch all these live streams. So we have software that can copy and live stream committee meetings and the House floor sessions to Facebook, so people can tune in and comment, and we can really be interactive with the public. Oh, that costs money. Also, all the newspapers. I think there's 9 newspapers I subscribe to in the district. All that stuff it comes out of a campaign fund, but it's for legislative duties too. There was no requirement that people be part of my campaign, and they can opt out of all the information. But this is really important information to bring to the city council so that they understand what the interactions are. I mean, I don't live in Mankato. I represent part of Mankato, but we all shop in Mankato. And they should know if people are going to drive to Fairmont or New Ulm or Faribault instead of going to Mankato, they should understand that impact to their business and the economy.
Okay, let me ask you this real quick. We're going to go to break. When we come back, we'll find out how can you tell on your survey and SurveyMonkey, whatever you call it, can you tell how many people were from this area, and these aren't a bunch of, I don't know, California guys getting on the email?
Yeah. Well, I mean, overwhelmingly the people are from the area. Okay. They were not required to give me their address. Okay. But of the people who entered the address, which is well over half, 85%, were from 30 miles of Mankato. Okay. So, yes, very, very, very local and very, very relevant information to the city council.
I love it. I want to talk more about how this could even work if we did it, and whether it's right or wrong. We'll talk about it. It's coming up tonight for these folks. Representative Munson, hang on the line for me real quick. We'll get him back. We want to talk all things mask, because the mask controversy, the mask meeting, the mask deal, it's coming up at 6 o'clock right here at 1420 KTOE.
Now in the afternoon, Southern Minnesota's news, sports talk, KTOE.
That'd be me. I've got Representative Jeremy Munson on the line. He did a survey, and it's completely the opposite of what the paper found in their one answer yes or no poll. But I find as you look in depth, it's interesting. And I use this, Representative Munson, the same person who asked the question about whether this was part of your campaign or not has come back a couple of times with emails, and I don't have a name. But basically he says, I'm sure it's Republicans that don't want to wear a mask. That's just from my personal experience. Is it just us darn Republicans that have the problem?
The medical background of masks, whether people should wear them or not. This really comes down to individual freedom, individual liberty. And one of the biggest problems I found with this mask mandate is when we ran into this, when we tried to make it illegal to have these service animals that aren't real service dogs, the emotional support dogs. Yeah. We tried to make it illegal for people to have those dogs in hotels and restaurants and such. Yeah. And the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, actually prohibits you from questioning someone's medical condition. Yeah. And it means that person also doesn't have to carry proof of their medical condition. So if there's any exceptions to this rule, like COPD or asthma or for any reason, this law would then be unenforceable.
Well, even unenforceable, let's do this. They want this to be a 60-day deal. We are, as we sit here, having the best numbers we've had in forever, and I mean the critical numbers, how many people are dying, how many people are in hospital, how many are in ICU. The numbers are going up, but let's be honest, 3 weeks ago we had all those riots and protests. We thoroughly expected the numbers go up. Things are going in the right direction. If we turn this on now, what would make us stop in 60 days?
Well, I mean, certainly one of the things I do disagree with a lot of people about this online and in conversations is there's no one saying that this isn't going to infect 60 to 80 million Americans. I mean, that from the beginning, they said 60 to 80 million people are going to get COVID-19 this year. But it's just trying to slow the spread so we don't overburden our hospitals. But, we found out originally that we almost vacated our hospitals because they were laying off 15,000 healthcare workers. And right now the numbers are going down, the hospitalizations are down. So it is continuing to spread. People are building immunity. We have tens of thousands of Minnesotans that are documented to have gone through this and now have immunity. And likely the numbers that we found out this week from the CDC, they are 10 times that number. So there's a lot of people that have gone through this and built immunity, and that's good. I don't know how much of a mask mandate is going to have an impact on it, but I think it's really just we should be educating people that wearing masks may be good for the situation. If a restaurant can't have social distancing, or if some type of business can't have social distancing, then maybe masks should be required for that business, but the business should make that decision and not the city of Mankato.
Well, this comes down to a lot of rights. If we're going to say that in the city of Mankato, if you don't wear a mask, which could, if you had a disease, you could kick it out to somebody else who, if they want to wear a mask, they could. But if they're not also wearing a mask and break the rule, then they could get a disease that could make them sick. And if they did get sick, could kill them. That's a long ways down the road to start saying something has to happen to every human being in your city. You know what I'm saying? It seems like we've made a long stretch to, if you speed, you could kill somebody. We're a long stretch past that.
Well, if someone contracts COVID-19, can they go back and sue the business? And, again, we don't do this for the flu, or any communicable disease. So, unless there's malice involved. So I think that I think it's an overreach to put this ordinance through, and I hope the city council realizes that they would be better off with a plan to educate people on washing their hands, socially distancing, coming up with good guidelines for small business owners on what might work. Help them design a plan, entry and exit in their store to allow more room. That would be great. There's grants available for people to use that money to change the design of their store. But mandates, I think, are one step too far. Oh, yeah. And then you got to decide the penalty and the cost to the community. I don't have time to go into it, sir. I appreciate you for your time. My point being is it, like you say, a $90,000 ticket? Are the police going to run around trying to catch people who have their mask on? And can you just say that person didn't have their mask on, but they had it on by the time the police got there? It's just this whole thing. We'll be chasing our tails, in my opinion. But Representative Munson, thanks for being on the program. I really do appreciate it. Appreciate you for sharing your info. And you say you did send that out to the city council. I presume that would be at the meeting then? Yeah.
Thank you very much for being a part of this program. You're always there when I ask you to come on. You bet.
Thank you, Al. Thank you very much.
I saw his survey, and I said, hey, that's a whole lot different than the other one. Come on and talk about it. He says, you bet. It's 5 minutes in front of 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, we hit that Mankato City Council meeting. Darren and I will walk it on up to 6 o'clock right after this. That's Radio Talk, by the way. We're filling time. Right up until they start, and that's next at KTOE. It's Al in the afternoon.